Looks like we are live and on the air, both on Twitch and YouTube. So welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a lovely Wednesday afternoon, and we're here mainly to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you have any of those, you can always jump over to foolishtechshow.com and you can join our IRC chat from there and talk to us directly. Otherwise, we'll spend the time just talking shop and random things probably, and you can join our chat and talk with us about those as well if you'd like. Anything expressed here is going to be the opinion of each individual person, not of the company entirely, so just keep that in mind. And otherwise, welcome, welcome, welcome. So PhilThex had a question in chat. Said he applied version 8's default protection, and after restarting still got a failure on the test protection. I don't see any reason why that should be happening. Can look under the policies tab and see if the policies are actually applied, but past that, I'm not sure why that would happen.
Yeah, I was kind of chatting with him, as you saw a little bit there, suggested a couple of things, but the policies should be written. I haven't seen a case where the policies have not been written, although could it conceivably be some weird set of permissions in the registry that might be impeding that?
I mean, you'd be an administrator when you apply the policies, so
yeah, I do have another report of this otherwise, and there was at least one case where I saw a Windows box not enforcing the policies for some reason. I don't think I could ever figure out why that was.
I guess if we see it again, let's see if we can try to recreate it.
Well, I'm hoping Phil will work with me a little bit more here to see what we can find. But that PC, as he mentioned, isn't currently accessible, so I don't know if he can do any additional testing on that. As he said, he has to jet. But we'll keep a close eye on that, folks, to see. But it's given the large number of downloads and use of our software up to this point, and only having like 2 cases, or as far as I know, 2 cases of it reported, I think that's still a very isolated thing. But any additional information, if anyone else out there is experiencing anything along these lines, please shoot us a line at support@foolishit.com, and we'll see if we can get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'd like to know more, because as long as the policies are getting set, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be working and applying them correctly. So
yeah, I'm leaning towards something with the Windows settings, or Windows, something with the local Windows installation in some manner that's I'm not able to reproduce in testing on a clean system. I don't know what that would be. A certain setting that's not the default that's contributing to it, or something else. But yeah, off the top of our heads, I don't think there's any clear indication other than potentially SRP is just not functioning on the system. But I don't see why that would ever be. I'm not aware of a way to effectively turn that off, and I haven't actually seen it break, except in these 2 reports.
Do we know which versions of Windows it happened in?
One of the reports was under Windows 10, and I think I also had a report under Windows. No, I don't know. No, I think it was just the 10.
Do we know about PhilThex? Phil says his was 10.
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
we'll keep an eye on it and see if we can come up with something. But as far as we're aware, when you apply the protections, they should be enabled and working. So he's already left the chat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he? So we did release an update to CryptoPrevent version 8.0 1.0.1.0, I believe.
Mhm.
And everyone out there should have their copies. It should the update should be live, and so if you hit the update button, you should receive that. If you have an automatic update scheduled, it should update you if you have a premium plan with us, and it looks very solid. A number of issues that were reported since the initial release have been resolved. Particular of note was some repetitive .NET errors in the event log. That was, I know, a big annoyance. That did not, from my testing, did not impact the execution of the program. I had a lot of people seeing that and uninstalling. As far as I'm aware, even initially, it didn't impact its ability to operate. However, we did completely address it. It's a non-issue now. So if anybody was experiencing that, I recommend just making sure you have the newest version, the 8.01.
Yeah. Huh. So I thought this was pretty interesting. You can add a DIY whiteboard to your laptop, so you can make notes on your laptop.
So you're not okay with sticky notes, but you're okay with whiteboard notes? Okay.
Yeah, because whiteboard is like while you're working on things. Sticky notes are just you write it down so that you don't have to forget that you're going to forget it and throw it away later.
This looks fairly inexpensive to implement.
Or
Yeah.
you forget to throw it away later.
Hey, Quark. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's just a basic whiteboard.
Yep.
On the back
Sure
of the laptop.
Sure does, and it's very detailed each step of the way. So cool. I was never one of those to artificially decorate my laptop, but I know a lot of people that I've worked with have an assortment of stickers or other fixtures.
I don't think decorating is...
The only issue I have with it is that if you're wanting to take a note while you're using your laptop, you're going to have to close your lid.
Yeah, there are some usability.
Or you can just flip it around.
Or flip it around and flip it back.
Mib is asking to repost that link.
Yeah, I can.
Don't mind.
There you are. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then I thought this was pretty interesting. Story linked off of that thing. That some dude apparently walked off with a bag out of an armored car in broad daylight and got away with it in New York City. He just saw the armored car and saw the pail that he could get and just went up there, grabbed it, and walked away. And all they got are these blurry pictures of him.
Wow, so he could conceivably get away with this completely, and
Yeah.
yeah,
He could be
Until he
gone.
tries to sell the gold, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, but
yeah, there's. I listen. If he does what probably I'd imagine a lot of people would do, immediately go to Cash for Gold place and see what they can do. Those guys don't really ask too many questions.
no, those probably are the ones that would report them.
Not usually,
I mean,
from what I've seen. They don't ask any questions. If you got gold, they give you money, and that's it. No regulations on it. There's no. I guess it depends if
they ask for your ID and take down your info and all that stuff?
Depends on what place you go to. The places that I've seen don't require any of that.
How much gold have you sold?
$1.6 million worth.
None of your business.
Yeah.
I only dig it up in the ground as I need it, and I make sure it's not tracked. So that's why I take it to those outfits. But yeah, it's not terribly difficult to convert those types of things. And it's only precious.
Okay.
It seems to be precious, commodity. So I'm like,
So now we just heard that if we find Michael's address, dig up his yard.
Yep, because he's got gold buried there.
well, I'm not gonna.
All right, well, I'll see you guys later. I'm headed.
I'm not gonna give it to a bank or a security company because they'll obviously just drop it out of the back of the trucks. I mean,
And apparently his gold's untraceable, so he wouldn't be able to track you down after you took it.
That's true. That's true.
yeah, Eric, I'm panning for gold can work, depends upon where you're panning, but
You ain't getting any out of the Tar River by you.
there are better ways. We've talked about this before. There are precious commodities basically falling off cars every single day on the roads, you know, there's a lot of things you can go out and harvest from the environment that could potentially that you could potentially profit from. It doesn't have to be something like this, and I'm certainly not condoning anybody go and try to steal some gold or whatever. Please don't get that idea. You know, in this case, there's a chance that this guy, I think, can get away with it. But it
I
does
bet the
show
armored
how-
car driver's getting fired.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
He
yeah,
left
right.
it unattended for 20 seconds to go grab his cell phone out of the cab.
Yeah, see, that's probably
Yeah, he's gonna get
a
fired.
violation of that. Now, it does go also to show how pervasive.
That's like one of those you had one job.
Well, it also goes to show how pervasive surveillance is in our society, you know, where virtually anywhere and everywhere you go, you're being recorded nowadays, or at least certainly where this happened.
And Futures Tech Eric is taking the mafia route of they just fell off the truck and into our truck.
Yeah, convenient how that works. They just suddenly bounce.
So we actually encountered this on our way back from.
Was it the same
Austin.
fire? I was curious. Was it the same thing?
Well, there's been 30 that have been raging in majority of the southern states. Like I think they said, where was it? Yeah, more than 30 large wildfires have scorched areas in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky.
So virtually everywhere we went.
Yeah. And it's strange because you normally do not get that a lot out east here. It's a very common occurrence out west. But,
and it always has been actually out west, even since we first, were stepping foot in California. But the east thing, yeah, that's bothersome, and that it's
extremely dry this year.
Really? Because I don't feel like it's been dry terribly here, but
it has been really dry comparatively. Like the rain that we had yesterday was like the first rain we've had in over a month and a half.
I've been spoiled.
But everyone should be thankful that Dollywood has been spared from the fire so far.
Oh,
that's near Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. But yeah, it's hit a lot of stuff, and yeah, it's terrible having fires. Gatlinburg looks like it got hit pretty bad.
Yeah, Gatlinburg's been devastated.
All kinds of stuff. So yeah, like we came over a mountain and all of a sudden there was smoke everywhere and people started coughing and rolling up windows and turning the AC so it was not on vent anymore. And then I farted. And
then we were all like, give me the smoke! Give me the
smoke! We need the smoke instead. Wow, y'all are under water conservation advisories? We haven't gotten any of those yet. That's interesting.
Oh, maybe it's worse than I imagined.
Yeah. So apparently, after much waiting, Netflix offers offline content now. So you can download Netflix things and then watch them offline. Apparently, it's only for a few select items. Majority of the Netflix original series, but not all of them. Looks like there's quite a few missing off that list, actually. And not all of their streaming things are available. But they're working towards it. That's good. I think that would really help. And man, I wish they would make it so that their streaming catalog was the same as their DVD catalog.
Oh
When
yeah,
that-
that'd be awesome.
Is
Is that a
GoPro that
licensing issue or?
doing that bad?
It is. What
Yeah.
about GoPro?
I didn't realize they were doing that bad, but it looks like they're downsizing and or certainly at the very least laying off a ton of workers.
Yeah, they're downsizing a lot. Closing down their entire entertainment division, which isn't GoPro like entirely entertainment.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how they divide their company, but I guess a lot of this is the drone launch, right? That failed. That might have been their
guess, but
entertainment division because I would imagine they would sell their cameras as more professional, or professional athletic devices and things like that. Or
I've always seen their cameras sold as entertainment value, but to capture your active
Say that on
lifestyle.
the box that they're for entertainment. The
Yeah, they
consumer
capture your
products.
active lifestyle.
I thought they were targeting higher end crowds than the average casual video user, but maybe I just don't. I don't know. I've never had one, so I mean, maybe Nick would
Yeah,
be best
like
to
I
answer
said, when
this.
they first came out with the drone thing, I was like, come on, really? You're a camera company. You don't need to make drones. Let the drone makers make those. Add your camera to those drones. Like, they would have been way better off like teaming up with DJI or Parrot or someone like that and saying, here, use our camera on your drone, not trying to make their own drone. But DJI is having a lot of difficulty getting their new drone out as well.
Well,
Their new drones. Apparently, their Inspire one, they had to make slower.
well, we have
67 miles per hour in 4 seconds.
yeah, and that was one of the points that they were advertising about it. So
Yeah.
that's actually pretty significant for them to
They
like,
determined that's too fast.
a big feature. Well, that's disappointing too because I mean, I would have thought those things would have been rated for, to tolerate something like that. That,
Well, they probably tolerate that, but I mean, what do you need a drone going 67 miles per hour for video for?
I'm not sure to take more video with lower, with airborne times being as low as they are. I mean,
I don't see why they would do that. Like, I mean, even if you're trying to do a car chase or something like that, why would you be doing that at 67 miles per hour?
you know what? I don't know, but it's still a relatively nascent market, and there's probably going to be lots of shakeups until things get a little bit more, level as far as the playing field and as far as the technology coming into maturity and stuff like that.
So I thought this was a pretty interesting article. This Belgian photographer ended up going into this quarry in central France and just finding a ton of classic cars that they believe were hidden away from Nazis at the time. But man, that's quite a thing to happen across. And crazy that they decayed that much over what, 80 years, 90 years, 80 years, no, 70 years, 60 years. How long ago was World War II? 65 years, 70 years?
Ended in like 47, 48, right?
I think.
World War II ended in 1945.
71 years. I was close.
There's a cool little bit about high-speed cameras and some really neat effects that you could capture.
Is that the homemade bullet time?
I guess you could, yeah. There was a note that the Matrix could have saved a whole lot had they simply implemented this, but is that what they call it? Yeah, bullet time. They even use that term in games, using that effect of the arrow.
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's bullet time filming.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't play a whole lot of games, so I'm not really up to date on all that. But
It's not a game thing. It's a film style.
film style.
The way games are made nowadays is basically like film, so you end up with the same style. But yeah, and it was the Matrix that came up with that and did all that. So
Yeah, it's been a while now since that happened. What was that, 99 or 2000? Oh, like 16, 17 years ago. Whew.
easily. Yeah, 99, the Matrix came out. So the British Film Institute is planning to digitize 100,000 old TV shows before they disappear. Like shows going all the way back to, at last, the 1948 show. So roughly 750,000 shows are held on 1 and 2-inch tapes. So a 6-month discovery phase will need to be conducted first. They're looking for shows that are most at risk. So that's kind of nice. I like the idea of digitizing all the old stuff so that we don't lose it. Like there's a ton of, like I've said before, man, I wish I had like MTV's video collection at my fingertips. That would just be so freaking awesome. I can't even imagine. Like I'd spend the rest of my life watching music videos and things like that from all kinds of stuff from MTV.
Okay. I never really watched MTV, but
I'm somewhat surprised that that hadn't already been done already.
They do have some stuff online, but it's not like their entire catalog. And
I wasn't talking about the MTV. I was just talking about digitizing old TV shows and.
Yeah, they have done some.
Yeah, but there's such a large amount of it that it's a huge undertaking, I think, and you only tend to what's been done so far has only really, I think, scratched the surface from what I understand. I can think off the top of my head even of just several dozen like old cartoons that I watched as kids that just have not been touched basically since the digital era came around, and there's probably thousands of hundreds of thousands or millions of pieces of content that have yet to be updated. When you go to Netflix and you and you get some stuff, I mean, you just can see the quality on some of the older flicks. It's just these titles haven't really been touched, and while they've effectively already been digitized, obviously they're not giving them a lot of attention like they did with the remakes for some films where they re-release it or pull a new print of it from the original source and make it high def or as best as they can.
Yeah. So
I have one other thing though I wanted to interject really quick. This was more tech related, but I want to, because I just built an ESET not that long ago, and I wanted to see how the new KB Lake high-end or mainstream i7.
Almost a year ago.
All right. Well, I guess it's been almost a year ago, but I was hoping, I get a good life out of it. But showing the performance here of the 67 or the 7700K which is the new KB Lake variant of the i7s versus the previous 6700K, which is the chip in my system. It looks like there's a relatively small, small performance increase between the two. There Tom's article was referenced in the story that I'm reading, and it's basically showing 3.6% increase in performance on average over the i7 6700. And it looks like the power draw is higher, and what that actually bears out is that the efficiency is actually slightly lower with the new chip, which can be, I don't know, it depends on how you interpret it, but a lot of people were hoping for higher clock speeds without any loss, at the same power level. And it seems clear that Intel wasn't quite able to deliver that with this chip. Does that mean that this chip doesn't have some nice increases? Yeah, and if you have stuff that this chip focuses on, it may be even better. It may that 3.6 may not be what you're seeing. You may see better if you're focusing on the internal graphics of it, or if you're focusing on the instruction improvements or anything else that they've done. So I'm not. That's not negative what I'm saying. But there's a new high-end chip out there that seems to be largely backward compatible. So there'll be BIOS updates if there hasn't already been for Kaby Lake for your motherboards out there. Certainly there was for mine already. I don't know if it's come out of the beta stage, but the BIOS is out there, so I could theoretically drop one of these in. Now, would you want to move from a 6700 to a 7700? No, but this might be a good time if you have an earlier generation of the i7s to reevaluate if you need a new PC and to potentially consider something like this. Granted, this is still their mainstream processor, so it's the mainstream chipsets that they're doing. They're not the high-end server ones, so you're going to still be somewhat limited with the number of cores you're going to be getting, and the access to quad-channel memory won't be there like some servers have, and additional PCI Express lanes are not going to be present. But there's certainly enough for most mainstream uses and even some higher end uses. So take a look. That's one review. I'm sure there'll be a ton of them in the next couple of days or weeks. But keep an eye on it.
Does it still run way more hot and doesn't overclock?
So they did a little bit of overclocking. So they overclocked. It has a base speed of 4.2 gigahertz. It turbos up to 4.5 by default, and they overclocked it to almost 4.8 gigahertz, 4.78 gigahertz to be exact, and they bumped the core voltage up to make that happen. It was hot. They got 82 degrees Celsius. 82 degrees Celsius over ambient? What? Oh, which was 15 Celsius, that's pretty cold. And at 59 degrees, yeah, that's well below room temperature. But at any rate, there was only a 60 over ambient for the Skylake. They're both hot chips, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it does appear that the 7700 may have broken another record there with their heat dissipation. Now, granted, this was while overclocked, but it was only 60 for the 6700K, and that was at 4.6 gigahertz versus 4.8 gigahertz at 82. And that seems like a large delta there for that small of a 200 megahertz increase there. That seems like a relatively large power jump to make that happen. So I'm gonna say that, Brantley, I'm glad you brought that up. It looks like it's gonna run hot. So you guys are gonna want to have exotic cooling with these things, high-end air, or large scale water, radiator size water cooling for this.
Radiator size?
In other words, the radiator size should be large. In other words, you don't want to limit yourself to 120 millimeter or even potentially 240 millimeter. You want something potentially larger than that. I would probably recommend if you're
space heater.
If you're going to do any overclocking with the chip.
Okay, so the Cassini spacecraft.
Yeah, Saturn.
Yeah, so it's starting its final mission, I believe, where it's going to fly around Saturn 20 times to gaze at the rings around Saturn.
Is it going to be leaving the Saturn system Saturn after that, or is it going to remain?
Nope, it's going to crash into Saturn about this time next year.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think that there was much, but that that thing's been up there now for quite a long time. Certainly got a good bit of usage out of it, and the data that they'll retrieve going through the rings, I imagine, is going to be quite unique.
Well, they're going around the rings. They're not going through them.
Oh.
Is
So,
the reason for crashing it because it doesn't have enough fuel to escape Saturn's gravity at this point?
probably.
Probably, like, that's what they do with a bunch of, like, they have trashed like 3 of them into Jupiter.
Yeah, and they get a lot of data out of doing that, by the way.
I think.
Yeah, I guess they do get a lot of
away
data
the
on the
equipment.
entry of it. So
I think too. The other side of it is like the space trash issue. Like,
Well, there are
it'd be a
some.
lot harder to calculate. Like, it's already difficult getting
think that there
something
is.
to one of the planets out there, but then also calculating that there's space debris out there just floating
You
around
bring up a good point.
they don't have any control over.
I would hope
that's
that
true,
wouldn't
but
be a
there's very
problem in the
finite
Jovian or
number of craft that we've
Saturnian system.
sent up there compared to just the random junk that's
For
up there already.
now. For
He's
now.
got a point, though. Eventually, it could get to that.
And even still, like that one, like you would think, like they spend like $20 billion on a satellite. They get it to Saturn, and then, oh crap, it just ran into our other satellite that we left.
Which
out.
we spent 20 or
Whoops,
40 or
right.
more $billion. Yeah, and keeping track of it and maintaining it. I mean, the operational costs, while
They
they're
probably wouldn't even know what happened.
it costs
to it.
money
It would
to
just
get
go
time.
It just
offline.
disappeared and
Yeah.
gone. Yep.
It's not exactly like they're like keeping an eye on it exactly and able to see everything that far away.
20 billion down the hole.
I think Brentley's got a little bit of a point here, but I
those
don't
are
know
like,
if there's any laws or anything forcing them to do that.
well,
They may
it's not,
do it
but
because
that's what I'm
it's the right
saying.
thing to do.
They understand that it takes them what, 10, 20 years to get out that far, even.
No. I mean, to get to Saturn, no, it just takes them a few years. Or
I think it takes more than a few years, dude.
Yeah, it took more than a few years. The other thing we just sent just left the solar system, and that was like back in 1980.
I know, but the solar system is big. Let's see. Voyager 2 took 4 years, and Cassini took 6 years and 9 months to arrive at Saturn.
Either way,
it depends on your flight path, but it could be as little as 4 years. And I don't think Voyager's 2 path was perfect.
Either way, I don't think that it's exactly easy or trivial to plan a 4-year road trip and make
6 years in the case of
run
Cassini.
into traffic.
Such as
6
your
years
other
satellite.
yeah. Message received. Yes, I got you. But they've been doing this for a while, and like to think they're relatively experienced with it. So I'm sure.
Yeah, which is why I think that's why they crash them into the planets, because they're like, we don't want to have to deal with this later.
You might be right. You might be right.
But they're probably starting like wars with all these alien species, just crashing things down on top of them. They probably
some
killed
alien
things
species think we're attacking it, and it's just our dude falling on their planet.
That would be just like us to do.
We might have already wiped something off on Jupiter.
I mean, some of the things that collided with Jupiter we didn't send out there. Like we watched the Shoemaker-Levy impacts with Jupiter back in the 90s, and that was pretty amazing for the time, particularly. That if there are creatures that live on Jupiter, hopefully they'll still exist. It may have hurt some of them or a few or something like that, individuals, but I hope.
Maybe.
I mean, compared to those comets, I'm pretty sure our stuff is pretty small and probably would burn up very high up.
So I thought this was an interesting video. It goes over Socrates and his view of democracy. Apparently, he was not a fan of just general everyone gets to vote democracy.
Actually, most of them weren't. Yeah, that's true.
When
you let everyone.
Is that the only thing that makes for a good democracy is an educated voting.
Yeah. So we neglected that. We've tend to, at least in this country, seemingly dumb down every generation. So we're devolving the education level of our voting population, at least here. And that's directly against what they were talking about. Now, obviously, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you have to attain some certain level of education to vote, but their
I
intent.
think you should. I feel like you should have to know things before you're just like checking off boxes. Like that's not a worthy vote. Like if someone just goes in there and is just checking off, oh, I like the look of this guy better than the look of the other guy. That's a terrible voting system. Like you're not coming up with good things after that. Like, and he puts forth some good examples. Like the first one was what was it? The second one, at least I think, was he was like, so you have a candy shop owner and a doctor running against each other, and the candy shop owner is like, why would you want to vote for that guy? Because he like hurts you and makes you feel bad and does bad things and gives you nasty things, where I just give you candy and happiness. And everybody ends up voting for the candy guy instead of the doctor. Or the other thing I think was, would you pick just anybody to captain your voyage across the ocean, or would you want to pick somebody that has training and knowledge in traveling across the ocean?
Well, look, there have been problems with societies that have done what you're discussing. It basically moves the entire voting population into a very small subsection of society. In fact, you would be talking about roughly only at the most probably 25% of the population voting, at most, if not far, far, far less than that. And
if you make it
that small percentage then has to somehow be representative of all those other people living in that country.
Yeah, but they would be educated enough to know that they're representative of everyone else in the country and to try to make decisions based on that.
Not everyone values education seemingly as much as you would you seem to be suggesting. People are confronted all the time with facts. That people are confronted all the time with facts that they blatantly disregard or blatantly ignore or blatantly reject. Even if a million scientists come up to them with a million stacks of data and present it, they will still believe what they want to believe. And that, I believe, is what this article is talking about, is that, you know, it provides a lot of skew, but some would argue that the skew is important to the system as a whole. But let's get off this political.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're talking about. Netflix is coming out with a seemingly kind of a sequel to Mythbusters. It's got not the two main people from Mythbusters, but their lackeys that they had working under them.
Oh boy, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Those three are going to have their own Netflix series. It's called White Rabbit Project. It looks kind of interesting. They're taking a different, like, they're not just copying Mythbusters. They're taking a different approach, and like I think it looks like they're going after, like, how did this work? How did this happen? Or can this be done? Like, one of the interesting ones I saw up there was like they were doing a jailbreak, like walking through and following a jailbreak.
It seems similar, because Mythbusters have done a number of those, but they're probably presented a little bit differently. I'd like to take a look at that. I think
it'll be good. Yeah. I mean, they were on Mythbusters pretty much since the beginning.
I like them all three of them. There were Carrie and Byron or whoever.
Cary Grant and Tori.
Tori, and who was the other guy?
Grant.
Cary Grant and Tori. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. It does look cool from the preview there. It's on Netflix. Netflix tends to do a fairly good job with their shows, so I think it should be all right either way. And it'll be better than him, that one guy advertising for Burger King or whatever it was.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Talking about the pink.
Yeah, I didn't like that so much. That cut him down a notch for me a little bit, but we'll see if he can redeem himself. Hey, what about this? Isn't this cool? 1984 to 2016 time lapse, effectively, from Google Images, and
I was wondering how they got those. Google ain't been around that long.
Satellite data has been around for quite a long time, and they have large, deep pockets to buy the data with. So
that's what I'm wondering is where they got the data.
The quality. You can see the quality. These aren't exactly the high-res photos that they have today, necessarily for back then. But it would be interesting to see. They work with the USGS, so NASA and Time. So they got these. That's the sources basically where they got these satellite imagery from. Those three organizations.
Why did it take them this long to get that?
They've been constantly upgrading their systems.
To be compatible with 1980s?
No. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of data, and there's some prep work that is done before they just dump it into.
I'm pretty sure they just dump it.
I don't know, but I thought that was kind of neat, and I thought particularly if you use it to see the changes that are happening in the world that some people believe just don't exist. The rise and fall of cities, because of climate change, and the glaciers, two big things.
What cities have risen and fallen because of climate change?
Quite a few on coastal regions. In fact, if you look at those islands that I was talking about in the South Pacific or whatever, they have a name, the Marshall Islands or something like that. Yeah, man, those guys are perfectly underwater. And
that's
not
specifically because of climate change, though.
Oh yes,
Marshall Islands, the one we set off all the nukes under.
Yeah. It absolutely is. It's the rise in sea level due to the melting of the ice, the polar ice caps. And the sea level just doesn't normally rise if the climate stays stable. It's only happens as a side effect of a rising, temperature. So anyway, if people want to see real.
It's not actually beeping, or it's not actually Hot Pockets, Quark. I believe it is pizza rolls. And they're not mine.
I couldn't hear that.
But I don't know what they are. In here, or in there. Anyway, this is much more interesting than anything.
Here's the glaciers, by the way. No, I mean, take a look if you want to see, what.
Look at this. This video is a baby that keeps falling asleep while it's eating spaghetti. Here, watch this.
Oh, that actually does seem kind of cool.
Oh, I saw that live this weekend, so I.
You saw it live?
I was talking about my son.
It's super cute. Like he's
awesome.
He keeps passing out and then waking up and realizing he's got spaghetti in front of him. Awesome. He's like, "Oh yeah, spaghetti! Spaghetti!"
My parents have pictures of me eating my first spaghetti dinner, as they do of my brothers, all of my brothers. It was.
It wasn't pizza rolls. It's some mound with chocolate or something on it. Not sure what it is. It looks like it's made of cookie, though. Is it made of cookies? Johnny's just smiling and staring at me.
Oh, did we talk about the story?
Marshmallow and chocolate inside.
So the U.S. is or excuse me, not the U.S. Excuse me, the Internet Archive is worried about the U.S. and changing some of the privacy laws and things like that, and surveillance and other potential bad things with our new government. They're apparently wanting to do a mirror archive in Canada. It's interesting.
I don't think that's far enough away.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe something a little bit farther. But
I was thinking that someone in someone high up in there was like, I'm moving to Canada if Trump gets elected, and then he got elected, and they're like, I'm moving to Canada. And they're like, you can't, we need you here. And he's like, nope, we're going to set a new one up in Canada.
But at least, we were talking about digital, or we were talking about legacy data being lost potentially. And, these types of things will help.
Yeah, it is crazy that they have all their data based here in the U.S. and it's like for the entire world.
Yeah, and that's sometimes some of the reasons why we're criticized, because a lot of the data is stored here.
I wonder, like, does Russia's law make them?
Yeah, so Russia's law says that they have to store the data in servers in their country. So, for instance, Russians can't, so
they can't get to the Internet Archive.
No, it's businesses. I forget. You have to
sign into Russia and let me know if you can get.
You have to look at the peculiars of the law, but there's something about services, like businesses that provide services have to have the servers. Like, in other words, I think Amazon and Google were having some issues over there because they were forced to open up servers and change their flow of traffic and data to accommodate some of those laws. And some companies, the ones that can't or don't have the resources to be able to do that, typically just stop functioning in Russia. So.
Well, here's Bubbles covering The Man Who Sold the World by Nirvana. Extremely good music video. Highly recommend it. And it's just a good song. It's just a good song. So what do y'all think about this what do y'all think about this mannequin challenge? Have y'all seen or heard about that?
I don't know what.
I think it's ridiculous.
Can you elaborate a little bit on this challenge you call Mannequin Challenge? Yeah, that's still the Bubbles link.
Well, here, so you know what it is a compilation of the 15 best mannequin challenges. And essentially it's just a thing that started on social media, of course, where you do a video of everybody frozen in time. And they tried to do it with 4,000 rabbis. And it went just like they said. It went just about how you'd expect.
Okay, I'm with Johnny on this. This is just stupid.
Why is it stupid?
It's a waste of time. There's a lot of better things to be doing than.
They have some pretty good mannequin challenges. I just saw one recently that was they had dolphins in the mannequin challenge.
That's the thing. Why do we need to encourage people to stand still and not move around? We need to encourage people to have more active lifestyles. Okay, so I'm totally not down with this mannequin challenge. Why don't you make it a challenge to run around the block? Maybe don't you make it a challenge to run a mile in under.
What is that? What are you talking about? It's not like it's telling them to spend their entire day standing around like mannequins.
Oh yeah? Do you know how long some of those shots seem to take? I mean, that's quite a long time.
No, it's not. I haven't seen one that's over a minute long.
It looked like those guys were sitting there for more than a minute.
What guys?
Then that's video you sent.
The first one?
Whatever.
Or the rabbi one?
Not the rabbi one. I was looking at the first.
Here's the one with the dolphins.
And now they're torturing our friends in the water.
Why do you think that's torture?
You know that was done at SeaWorld, right? Right before they emptied the tank and killed it.
Why do you think that was at SeaWorld?
Again, I think it's right up there with putting children on TV.
What? All right, well, how about this video? This person is driving 70 miles an hour without a rim on their car. And I am almost positive that that exit sign at, let's see, where is it? About 48 seconds. Yeah, that exit sign says Greensboro, Spartansburg, and Matthews. So it's 485 inner. That's right around you, isn't it, Proctor? Or is that in Charlotte?
I think that's near Charlotte.
Yeah, I think it's Charlotte.
Let's see. Yeah, it is Charlotte.
Gotta be. It's exit
Beltline.
30.
Yeah, the belt line around Charlotte.
Without a rim. I actually drove.
If I was in Charlotte with no traffic, I'd keep driving on no rim too.
No. Listen, I've actually done that. So I drove for about 30, maybe 40 minutes. No, 30 minutes. I'd say 30 minutes. On a rim. The speed limit was 55. It was common to go 70 there, and I at least had to do.
No, this is without a rim.
Yeah, no.
Nothing but
They
brake
have no
pads.
tire.
Oh, without. Oh.
No, this is no rim at all. Like they just had brake pads in their rotor, not no.
Yeah. It's not on a rim. It's
no flat tire. They have no rim at all.
No rim.
Oh, see, that's no fun. If you have the rim, at least there's sparks. There were sparks shooting all out of my car when I was driving that, and
It's no fun
I
driving.
had so many people
wheels.
tell me to pull over, like
Yeah, because you shouldn't be doing that, Michael. You should not have driven 30 or 40 minutes on the rim of your tire. You definitely shouldn't be going 70 miles an hour without a rim at all.
Well, I needed to get home in some reasonable
It
amount of
It's
time.
supposed to
doesn't
go like
matter.
100 miles on your
I would have
donut
spent
spare.
longer. I would have
Yeah,
spent
you call
longer.
a tow truck then.
I didn't have money for the tow
Sure.
truck at
You
that
get a
time.
friend to come pick you up. You walk home.
Call your mom and tell her.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
could have
doing
just
more
called your
damage
mom
to
and
the
told
car
her.
too.
What makes you think I was anywhere near my parents when this occurred?
Because you always are.
I think it's pretty amazing that they were able to go that far though.
Yeah. I can't even believe they were able to go that fast. And they did the I'm in the far right lane, but I need to get over 3 lanes right before an exit thing too. So
Yeah, I had to get off on an exit. I couldn't wait for that exit to come up, man, and get off. It felt so good to go down under 50 miles an hour. You know?
Full story.
why you were going over 50 miles an hour on your rim?
He said
About
70.
No, it was most cars were going 70. I was probably going.
What is
60.
your problem?
It was just hard to hold the. It's hard
You
to hold
needed the
the.
momentum to keep going with no
Straight.
wheel.
You should have
Well-
been going like 10, maybe 20.
You know, it would have taken me an hour
It
and a half.
doesn't matter. You shouldn't have been driving it at all.
Really? It's not that big of a deal, and
It
it's
is
already
that big of a
passed.
It is a big deal. That could have
That
gotten
is a
somebody
huge
killed.
deal.
It could have.
That is a
Well,
huge deal.
He will
And I
learn
didn't
from
trust
anybody,
him
nobody-
because he does not seem like this is an issue, and he's probably going to do this again.
And if a cop would have saw you, oh, you'd have been in big trouble.
Michael's going to get a flat eventually, and he's just.
Do you not have a spare
Yes,
tire,
it's
Michael?
illegal. Holy crap.
Well, see, there was two. I had 2 flats, and so I could only put the spare on one of them.
Is that the time you popped both tires on water?
On
You
water?
had 2 flat tires and you're going 60 down the highway. Are you
So,
insane?
What have we learned today? Never ever ride in a car with Michael.
so he
Or
was
anywhere in the same
never gets to
state,
drive.
apparently.
So he was riding on rim-ended donut.
No. Yeah, a rim and a donut. You're right. Yeah, so 2 regular wheels, a rim and a donut. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was real safe.
Oh my gosh. Don't do that again, Michael.
I don't intend to. It wasn't fun, and after
Just don't. That's terrible. Did that. Oh my gosh. That's worse than getting on a freaking
See,
open
Quark's
flame
with me. I didn't hurt anybody, and everything was all right. So.
Don't tell him how to drive.
Quark, we'll see how you say when he moves to New Jersey then. He'll fit right in with all the other drivers there. But
Don't be slamming them. They drive.
The rest of your guys' team.
What? No, Future Tech Quark says, or Future Tech crew has told us numerous times about the drivers in New Jersey.
Yeah, I just there may be some, but don't say everyone. I'm sure there's some reasonably good defensive drivers in New Jersey.
Did I say everyone?
All right. Well, as long as the Futures crew aren't offended by it, I guess it's okay.
And any New Jerseyans?
Well, I don't want New Jersey
that happen to be good drivers.
I'm a good driver.
You're not a New Jerseyan.
She was.
I lived there for 8 years.
Wasn't she?
Doesn't make you a New Jerseyan. And besides, you're a good driver by Florida standards, so.
No, I'm not.
Look. I don't think we need to have a driving discussion.
Yeah, especially not if you're driving around on donut and rim.
Look, we've all probably had some, less than,
Tires are optional.
We've all had some probably.
We've all had those times where we just thought tires were optional on cars. Johnny, you made it out of New Jersey alive?
Yes.
Yeah, but she made it to Florida, so I don't know if that would.
No, after New Jersey, I went to Michigan.
Oh, that's where people from New Jersey go to die, Florida, right?
Yes. That's where my parents or my grandparents went. And they died there.
Yeah, that's where everyone goes to die, from what I understand.
We call it God's waiting room.
That's cute. I like that. Oh, Phoenix. Speaking of, I have a tracking number for you, Phoenix. In case you want it.
Don't give it to him right now.
Why?
Unless it's in a private message.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a PM.
So while he does that, apparently Mozilla Firefox 50.0.1 has a 0-day that's being used to unmask Tor users, and they are scrambling to try to get that patched. So if you're using Tor, make sure you're using a VPN underneath of it still, because you could be de-anonymized fairly easily. And did any of y'all hear about the BitLocker bypass that they found out was built into Windows?
Yeah, that's pretty easily done, and I kind of knew this was coming. They had previously talked about, we had even previously talked about Microsoft allowing Windows updates to log back in and have elevated, credentials to complete the update process and all these things. This kind of goes right along.
That's not what that is.
It's not exactly the same thing, but
This is when an update goes through, and their latest updates, they basically do a reinstall.
Yeah, so for any of those,
like your anniversary update or
yes.
any of those, it reboots your system and basically reinstalls Windows. During that setup time, this is same is true through any Windows setup. You can hit Shift F10 and you'll get a system administrator level command prompt.
And if the drive is completely encrypted with BitLocker, you still get access.
Yeah,
And
it's been in Windows since far beyond.
so all you have to do is steal somebody's computer,
Prior to XP at least.
wait for it to do a Windows update, and during that process, hit that key combination to gain access to their data. So theoretically, you do have to have access to the machine, and that's a big if right there. This is not going to be a compromise that the machine could have happen if you were, behind a vault or whatever. But it's still a concern, and it can be, like for the government, if they wanted to get access to people's data, this is what I don't, they could easily do it.
Yeah, so there's that. Yeah,
but Microsoft is, by the way, the mitigation though, Microsoft says they'll have a resolution for that in place. So I don't know exactly what that's going to entail or how that's going to impact the update process moving forward, but we'll probably expect them to announce something in the near future.
Yeah.
And
nice. You're getting it tomorrow, Phoenix. Cool. Well, we told Michael put a whole bunch of nice stuff in there for you. If he didn't, then he must have kept it for himself.
Yeah, no, there should be just the two things that I believe I had promised, and I hope they find you well, and I hope you can enjoy them. I'm a fan of those new flash drives we got. They're real nice, and they're sturdy, and they don't seemingly have that problem that the previous ones did, being a little bit large. So those are real good.
Phoenix, it hasn't even been a full year.
Wow.
I'm so sorry about that. I did I did make it a point though to
Totally ignore you for a year, Phoenix.
No, it was an issue with getting his address, and then I don't know.
No, it was an issue with keeping his address.
Keeping his address.
Because you didn't use a whiteboard on the back of your laptop, you used a sticky note.
Yeah.
Threw away with your YubiKey.
Anywho, so it looks like what I didn't in this story, what I didn't quite initially grasp on it was that how many that they've had in such a short period of time. They're talking about them declining, which I guess is a good thing, but and this is not these are not seismic events though without consequences either. I mean, these, while they're not 7, 8s, and 9s typically, these things get into the 5 range that can cause somewhat significant amounts of damage. So.
Most of those are related to fracking, aren't they?
Yeah, well, this is clearly what some of this data is trying to suggest. If you look at the time period,
the fact that they're having any earthquakes at all is kind of the bigger issue, not that they're declining or on the rise. Or
so if you look at that map in that picture, okay, those gray dots are the ones that have been occurred since 2009, which is, I believe, around the time fracking started to become largely widespread. Those gray dots. Now there are black dots that you'll see as well on this spread out, and those are the ones that occurred between the years of 79 through 2008, and there's just a sprinkling of those, okay, in comparison to the gray dots. Clearly there's something going on there. At least I don't know any other way to interpret this data, but be your own judge.
I've been through Oklahoma, and it's crazy how many fracking things they have set up. Like out there is basically just tons of crops and huge farms with like cattle and stuff, and like almost everywhere, like almost every quarter of a mile or so, there's a fracking thing set up. I'm just like, man, that's got to be real safe for our food and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like even driving through Texas, we saw how many, wells did we go by, how many, all sorts of things. And some of those things were not just, petroleum, not just.
Well, no, most of the ones we went past in Texas were fracking. as well. But it's just crazy how many, like, there's a lot in Wyoming as well, around Cheyenne and such, and there's a lot in spread out around Colorado, but I'm like every quarter of a mile in Oklahoma that we went in through had a thing set up. It was insane how many there were.
Yeah. Anyway, again, I said that I think the data speaks for itself. We obviously could see by those dots the type of density for these types of things. These are highly, they're all over the place, as Brantley pointed out. And they're having some impact, so be careful where you might want to live. These things have the potential to also deal or cause problems with the groundwater.
Like the only area you have that's safe from that is like the Northwest, isn't it? Like everywhere else has shales.
Yeah, including in the state here. Yeah, you're right about that. There's few places where you can go that don't have that at all, but it's still not quite the density that you're talking about in those areas of the country. Like Oklahoma is just, it's incredible, you know.
I know the New York and all that stuff is dealing with them. Pennsylvania's dealing with them.
Oh,
So they got bills up there.
So nobody yet has attempted to pass any law limiting this type of thing?
They can't. The lobbying against it is just ridiculous. They've had two shows against it for fracking stuff, but it's hard to say who exactly is to blame for what. I mean, since it is such a relatively new technology, they're always easily passing off the blame, and for how many there are still very few accidents. It's just when there are accidents, it's extremely devastating for a large portion of the
So I'm
area.
not suggesting that the accident level is high. I'm just simply saying that the impact as far as the earthquakes are concerned.
The earthquakes are like just a kind of like side effect thing of it.
It's a side effect, but that are causing damage. I mean, can everybody affected by the earthquakes, every bit of damage that's done, can they go to this company and say, hey, you need to pay for the repairs? No, of course not. And you know, but that's effectively.
That's what I'm saying is they can't even they can't trace it back to this one well caused an earthquake. So this company is in charge of it, and it's not just one company in an area; it's several companies that buy up the land they can to do with it.
So yeah, you don't. It's not having. It's not about somebody. But see, that's not the problem. It's not having somebody pay for somebody's earthquake damage. It's to not have the earthquakes to begin with to cause the cost of to cause the damage. And so there should clearly be, you know, if that earthquake that hit Italy a year or so ago or 2 years ago, if they could have completely stopped that.
That was this past year.
Okay, this past year. If they could have stopped that from happening, which effectively they can cut down the number of earthquakes if you look at this by an order of magnitude if they were to stop fracking. If you could guaranteed stop a certain number of earthquakes from happening and the associated damage from those earthquakes, I'm pretty sure that justifies a law being passed. But maybe that's just.
Well, does the damage outweigh the benefits?
Oh, the profit? No, not against the profit. The profit's always going to be more of having.
Why would they create a law that would stop it?
Because you have the potential for loss of human life, which we don't typically assign value to in that sense.
Yeah, and that's why it won't matter. And they'll continue doing it. So anyway, we've reached our hour time limit, so let's go ahead and wrap up for today. I'll leave you with one last interesting video if you want to watch it on repeat. This is Google Home versus the Amazon Echo, actually. Actually, the Dot, not the Echo. The Amazon Dot is what it's called there. But anyway, it's pretty interesting to watch them talk back and forth to each other. So otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
And thanks everyone for joining us, Futures Tech crew and Phoenix and everyone else that participated. Always much appreciated, and we will see you all tomorrow. Take us.